The widowed Millionaire's Triplet daughters weren't speaking until the poor waitress did something that changed everything. The emergency lights flickered like dying stars against the restaurant's glass facade. It was the kind of cold night that cut through wool coats and settled deep in your bones, the kind that made people walk faster, heads down, collars up, inside Carrington's. The dinner rush had finally died down to a trickle of lingering guests nursing their after-dinner drinks, their laughter muffled by the soft jazz bleeding through hidden speakers. Megan Carter moved between tables with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd learned long ago how to be invisible. 25 years old, worn sneakers squeaking slightly against the polished marble, uniform pressed but starting to fray at the collar. She balanced a tray of empty wine glasses on one hand while the other swept crumbs into her apron pocket, a habit born from years of making every movement count, every step purposeful. Table 6 needs water. Brittany Hale's voice cut through the ambient music like a blade through silk. The floor manager stood near the host stand, her smile sharp and professional, the kind that never quite reached her eyes. Those eyes, pale blue and calculating, tracked every server's movement like a hawk watching field mice. And Megan, the glassware goes in the back station, not the bar. Third time this week, yes ma'am. Megan kept her voice neutral, swallowed the words she wanted to say. It wasn't the third time, it was the first. But arguing with Brittany Hale was like arguing with a brick wall, pointless and likely to leave you bruised. She'd just set the tray down when she heard it, a sound so soft it shouldn't have carried over the music, over the clinking glasses and murmured conversations. But it did, a hiccup of breath, strangled and desperate, the kind of sound a child makes when they're trying very hard not to cry and failing. Megan froze, her hand still on the tray. The mezzanine, the private dining area upstairs where Nathaniel Carrington kept his daughters during his late-night business dinners. She'd seen them before, of course, 3 identical little girls with dark curls and enormous eyes, always silent, always watching, like little ghosts haunting the upper floor. Another sob, barely audible. Then Brittany's voice, sharp and cold even through the intercom, maintained silence. Mr. Carrington doesn't want to hear crying. Something twisted in Megan's chest. She knew that feeling, being small and scared and told to be quiet about it. She'd lived that feeling for most of her childhood, moving from one boarding house to another, learning that the best way to survive was to take up as little space as possible. Her feet moved before her brain caught up the spiral staircase, past the velvet rope that marked the mezzanine as off-limits to regular staff. Her heart hammered against her ribs, pulse loud in her ears. She was breaking about 5 different rules right now, and Brittany would have her head for it. But that sound, that desperate, suffocated sound, the mezzanine was dimly lit. All dark wood and leather furniture, arranged to give the illusion of privacy while still maintaining a clear view of the restaurant floor below. And there, behind the massive leather sofa, 3 small shapes huddled together like frightened birds. Megan dropped to her knees on the carpet, making herself smaller, less threatening. 3 pairs of identical brown eyes stared back at her, wide, wet, terrified. The girls couldn't have been more than 6 years old, dressed in matching navy dresses with white collars, their hair pulled back in identical ponytails, like little dolls arranged on a shelf. Hey, Megan whispered, her voice barely louder than breath. Hey, it's okay. The nearest girl, she'd later learn her name, was Zoe, flinched backward, pressing closer to her sisters. None of them made a sound, not even the one who'd been crying. They just stared, frozen in fear or shock or something worse that Megan couldn't name. She glanced around, spotted a napkin on the side table without thinking too hard about it. She pulled the pen from her apron pocket and started sketching. Her drawing skills were nothing special, rough lines and simple shapes, but she'd always been able to manage the basics. A circle for a head, a triangle for a beak, 2 dots for eyes, wings spread wide like the bird was about to take flight. She held it up, then set it gently on the carpet between them. You know what this is. Silence. 3 sets of eyes fixed on the napkin. Megan pursed her lips and whistled soft. Melodic, the kind of sound her mother used to make before the world got too heavy and she stopped making sounds at all. An old tune, something half remembered from childhood. The kind of melody that felt like sunshine through window glass, warm and safe, and far away from cold restaurant floors. Something shifted in the air. The middle girl area, she'd learned, leaned forward just an inch. Just enough to make Megan's breath catch in her throat. The little girl's hand, small and pale in the dim light, reached out. Her finger touched the napkin, traced the rough outline of the bird's wing. Again, Megan whispered, and whistled the melody once more. This time, all three girls were watching, not with fear exactly, but with something else. Something that looked almost like hunger, like people dying of thirst who'd just spotted water on the horizon. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" The voice cracked through the moment like ice breaking. Megan's head snapped up to find Brittany Hale standing at the top of the stairs, her expression carved from stone in fury. The manager's hands were clasped in front of her, knuckles white with tension. Her professional smile replaced with something cold and ugly, I heard. Megan started. Scrambling to her feet, "You heard nothing." Brittany's voice was quiet now. Deadly quiet. The kind of quiet that was worse than yelling. "These children are Mr. Carrington's responsibility, not yours. You're a server. You clear tables. You stay downstairs where you belong." They were crying. They were fine. Brittany moved forward, her heels clicking against the hardwood with military precision. She positioned herself between Megan and the girls like a wall, a barrier. Mr. Carrington has very specific protocols for his daughters. Protocols that don't include interference from unauthorized staff behind Brittany's designer skirt. Megan could see the girls had retreated back behind the sofa, shrinking into the shadows. The napkin with its rough bird sketch lay abandoned on the carpet. "Already forgotten. You were just leaving." Brittany's smile returned, sharp as broken glass. "And Megan, this is your last warning. The mezzanine is off limits. The Carrington girls are off limits. Your job is tables and glassware, nothing more. Are we clear?" Megan's jaw tightened. She wanted to argue, wanted to push back, wanted to demand why three little girls were being kept like prisoners in a gilded cage. But she'd learned long ago that wanting something and being able to have it were two very different things. "Yes, ma'am," she said quietly. "Good." Brittany gestured toward the stairs. "Your shift ends in 20 minutes. I suggest you use that time productively. There's a wine spill at table 12. Megan walked toward the stairs, her sneakers silent on the carpet. At the last second, she glanced back. Through the gap between the sofa and the wall, she caught a glimpse of dark curls and wide eyes. One of the girls, Sophie, the observant one, was staring at her with an intensity that made Megan's chest ache. Then Brittany shifted, and the moment was gone. As Megan descended the spiral staircase, her hand drifted to the small matchbox she kept in her apron pocket. Crushed cardboard. A phone number scrawled in fading ink, the last thing her brother had left her before he disappeared into whatever life he'd built without her. She carried it everywhere, a reminder that some people left and never came back. But some people, she thought, glancing up at the mezzanine one more time. Some people needed someone to stay, even if it cost everything. The boarding house on 7th Street smelled like boiled cabbage and disappointment. Megan remembered that smell better than she remembered her mother's face, which said something about the kind of childhood she'd had. She'd been 8 when they'd moved there. 9 when her mom stopped coming home on time. 11 when the social worker started asking questions. By 12, she'd learned to forge her mother's signature on permission slips. By 14, she was the one paying the rent with money scraped together from odd jobs. By 16, her brother Marcus had left a matchbox on her pillow with a phone number inside and a note that said, "I'm sorry," in his messy handwriting. She never called the number. Part of her didn't want to know if it still worked. Megan shook off the memory as she pushed through the restaurant's back entrance the next evening, pulling her hair into a ponytail. The past was the past. It didn't do any good to pick at old wounds. They just bled the same way they always had. "You're late." Brittany's voice cut through the prep kitchen. Megan checked her watch. She was 3 minutes early. "Sorry, ma'am." Brittany's smile was thin, sharp-edged. "Table assignments are on the board. You've got sections 1 and 3 tonight. Stay in your area." Translation: stay away from the mezzanine. Message received, loud and clear. But as Megan tied her apron and checked her station, her hand brushed against something in her pocket. 3 bottle caps, red, blue, green, that she'd picked up from the recycling bin that morning. Cheap plastic, the kind that came off soda bottles. Worth nothing to anyone. Except maybe to 3 little girls who had nothing. The dinner service started like it always did, a blur of orders and table numbers, wine pours and polite smiles. Megan moved through it on autopilot, her body going through the motions while her mind wandered upstairs. She told herself she wasn't going to do anything stupid. Wasn't going to risk her job for 3 kids she didn't even know. But then she heard it again. That same whistling melody, except this time, It was coming from her own lips without her meaning to do it. A businessman at table 4 gave her an odd look. She smiled apologetically and stopped around 9:30. Brittany disappeared into the office to handle some paperwork. The floor manager always did the nightly counts around this time, a solid 15 minutes when her attention was elsewhere. Megan had learned the rhythm of the restaurant's heartbeat over the past 6 months. She knew when the cameras swept past the blind spots, knew which floorboards creaked, knew exactly how long she had, 7 minutes give or take. She grabbed a water pitcher, always good to have a prop, a reason to be somewhere you shouldn't be, and took the spiral staircase 2 steps at a time. The mezzanine was quieter tonight. Nathaniel Carrington sat at the far table, his back to the room, cell phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, measured, the kind of tone that came from years of business negotiations and boardroom battles, the kind of voice that didn't have room for softness. And behind the sofa, 3 small shapes huddled in the same spot as the night before. Megan set the water pitcher on a side table and crouched down, making herself small. The girls looked up, recognition flickering in their eyes. Not fear this time, or at least less of it. More like curiosity mixed with caution. The way stray cats watched you when you held out food. She pulled the bottle caps from her pocket slowly, deliberately, making sure they could see, set them on the carpet in a line, red, blue, green. Then she hummed that melody, again soft, barely more than breath, and pointed to the red cap. Nothing. 3 pairs of eyes, just staring. Megan tapped the red cap gently with her finger, making it rock back and forth. Then she moved to the blue one, tapped it twice. The green one got 3 taps. A rhythm, a pattern, something simple they could follow. She hummed the melody again and pointed to red. And then God, it was barely anything, just the smallest movement. But Zoe's hand crept forward. Her finger touched the red cap. Didn't pick it up, didn't move it, just touched it, like she was testing whether it was real or if it would disappear like smoke. Megan's heart hammered against her ribs. She hummed again, pointed to blue. This time Aria reached out. Her movement was more confident, more deliberate. She touched the blue cap, then looked up at Megan with something that might have been the ghost of a smile. Good, Megan whispered. 1 more, green. Sophie, the observer, the watcher, didn't move at first. She studied Megan with those enormous brown eyes, like she was trying to read a book written in a language she'd almost forgotten. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched the green cap. Megan could have cried. It was such a small thing, such a tiny gesture, but it felt like watching flowers push through concrete, like witnessing something impossible become possible. She arranged the caps in a different pattern, blue, red, green, and hummed the melody in a different key. The girls followed, their fingers moving more easily now, less hesitant. They were starting to understand the game, starting to trust that this wasn't a trick, wasn't a trap. On the 4th round, Zoe did something that made Megan's breath catch in her throat. After touching her bottle cap, the little girl leaned forward and pressed her forehead against Megan's hand, just rested there for a moment. Warm and small and trusting, it was the most devastating thing Megan had ever felt. Mr. Carrington's call is wrapping up. Brittany's voice came from the top of the stairs. Cold and sharp, I suggest you return to your section. Megan, the manager, hadn't raised her voice, didn't need to. The threat was clear in every syllable. Megan straightened up, her knees protesting after crouching for so long. The bottle caps lay scattered on the carpet like pieces of a game interrupted. I was just refilling the water. Of course you were. Brittany's smile didn't waver. And now you're done, aren't you? Megan glanced back at the girls one more time. They'd retreated into their corner again. But Sophie was still watching her with those intense 2 old eyes in her small hand. Hidden partially by her sister's shoulder, she clutched the green bottle cap. Yes, ma'am, Megan said quietly. She descended the stairs with the water pitcher still in hand, feeling Brittany's gaze burning holes in her back. When she reached the main floor, she risked one glance upward. Brittany stood at the mezzanine railing, her expression carved from ice and calculation. She wasn't just angry. Megan had seen angry before. This was something else, something colder and more dangerous. This was someone who just identified a threat for the rest of her shift. Megan stayed in sections 1 and 3 like she'd been told. She smiled at customers, took orders, cleared plates. She was the perfect invisible server, the kind who anticipated needs before they were spoken, who never made eye contact too long or asked too many questions. But in her apron pocket, she carried 2 more bottle caps, yellow and orange, and a paper napkin folded into the shape of a small boat. Across the restaurant, Nathaniel Carrington, emerged from the mezzanine with his phone still pressed to his ear. He was tall, well-dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Megan made in 3 months. His dark hair was touched with gray at the temples, his jawline sharp, his expression carefully neutral, the face of someone who'd built walls so high even he couldn't see over them anymore. He passed within 3 feet of Megan without seeming to notice she existed, but later that night, alone in the back of his town car, Nathaniel stared out the window at the city lights blurring past. His daughters sat in their booster seats, silent as always, hands folded in their identical laps, and there, on Arya's palm, was a red bottle cap that definitely hadn't been there when they'd arrived at the restaurant. He almost asked where it came from. Almost. Instead, he watched as she turned it over and over in her small fingers, studying it like it was something precious, something worth holding on to. In the rearview mirror, his driver caught his eye and said nothing. Nathaniel looked back out the window and tried not to think about the fact that he couldn't remember the last time he'd seen any of his daughters play with anything at all. The trouble started on a Tuesday. Megan arrived for her shift to find her order pad missing from her locker. She checked twice, moved aside her extra apron and the protein bar she kept for slow nights. But it wasn't there. Not a huge deal. She could grab a spare from the supply closet, but it nagged at her. She'd left it there the night before, she was sure of it. Looking for something, Brittany stood in the doorway of the break room. Arms crossed, expression placid, my order pad. I could have sworn memories of funny thing. Brittany's smile was sympathetic in a way that made Megan's skin crawl. Stress can do that to people. Make them forgetful. You've been picking up a lot of shifts lately. Maybe you need a break. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a warning wrapped in concern, and they both knew it. Megan grabbed a spare pad from the closet and tied her apron. I'm fine. Thanks, of course you are. Brittany's heels clicked against the tile as she left. Oh. And Megan, Mr. Harrison at table 8 had a complaint last week about his water glass. Said it had a smudge. Make sure you double-check the glassware tonight. Megan frowned. She'd served Mr. Harrison exactly once, and he'd left a generous tip and no complaints, but she just nodded. Will do. The shift went sideways from there. At 6:40, a woman at table 5 sent back her wine glass, claiming it had lipstick on the rim. Megan had personally inspected the glass. It had been spotless, but there it was. A faint pink smear that definitely hadn't been there 2 minutes ago. At 7:15, an elderly couple at table 9 said they'd been waiting 20 minutes for bread. Megan had delivered their bread 17 minutes ago. She'd watched them butter it, but their basket was empty now. No crumbs, no evidence. And they insisted they'd never received any. At 8:30, she went to grab fresh silverware and found her entire section's cutlery had been moved to a different drawer. She asked 2 other servers about it. Both shrugged, said they didn't know what she was talking about. Everything okay, Jason? One of the bartenders caught her elbow as she passed. He was a good guy, mid-40s, had worked at Carrington's for 8 years. You seem rattled. I'm fine. Just an off night. He lowered his voice. Brittany's been watching you all night, like more than usual. You do something to piss her off. Megan thought about bottle caps and napkin birds and 3 little girls who'd started to trust her, not that I know of. Jason didn't look convinced, but he let it drop. Just watch your back. Okay, she's got a reputation for holding grudges. By 9 o'clock. Megan's shoulders were tight with tension, her jaw aching from clenching her teeth. Every table felt like a test she was failing. Every interaction loaded with the potential for disaster. She caught Brittany watching her from across the restaurant 3 separate times. That cool, assessing gaze tracking her movements like a sniper lining up a shot. The mezzanine called to her. She tried to ignore it, tried to focus on her tables, but her feet kept drifting toward the spiral staircase, just to check, just to make sure the girls were okay. Brittany intercepted her at the bottom step. Can I help you with something? Megan searched for an excuse. Came up empty. Water pitcher needs refilling upstairs. No, it doesn't. I checked it 10 minutes ago. Brittany's smile was razor thin. You know, Megan, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Some of the other staff have mentioned you seem distracted lately, unfocused, making small mistakes that add up. I haven't. The wine glass with lipstick, the missing bread basket, the silverware in the wrong drawer. Brittany ticked them off on her fingers like she was reading from a list. And now you're wandering around looking for tasks that don't exist. I'm worried about you. The lie sat between them, thick and obvious. But Brittany's expression was all concerned manager, all professional worry. If Megan called her on it, she'd look paranoid, defensive, exactly what Brittany wanted. I'll be more careful, Megan said quietly. I hope so. We'd hate to lose you. The threat in those words was unmistakable. Why don't you take your break? Clear your head. You've got 15 minutes. Megan escaped to the back alley, where the dumpsters smelled like old cooking oil and the night air was sharp enough to sting. She leaned against the brick wall and closed her eyes, trying to breathe through the knot in her chest. This was calculated, systematic. Brittany was building a case, stacking up small incidents that would paint Megan as unreliable, careless, and if Megan pushed back, if she kept trying to reach those girls, the incidents would escalate, get worse, until there was enough ammunition to justify firing her outright. She should walk away, should focus on her job, keep her head down, stop caring about 3 kids who weren't her responsibility. That's what smart people did. That's what survivors did. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Zoe's forehead pressed against her hand, saw Sophie clutching that green bottle cap like it was treasure, saw herself at 6 years old, small and scared, watching social workers talk about her like she wasn't even in the room. "Screw it," she muttered, and pulled a folded napkin from her apron pocket. She'd been practicing at home the night before, watching YouTube tutorials until her fingers remembered the steps. The napkin became a boat, crisp white paper folded into neat triangles and creases, a little sail standing proud inside the boat. She tucked a piece of ribbon she'd found in the break room, lost and found, pale blue, barely 2 inches long, nothing valuable, nothing Brittany could accuse her of stealing. When her break ended, she went back inside and got through the next hour. At 10:15, Brittany took her scheduled break 12 minutes, like clockwork, when she went to the office to review reservations for the next day. Megan took the stairs quickly, quietly. The mezzanine was dim, just a few ambient lights glowing. Nathaniel wasn't there tonight. Late board meeting, according to the reservations book. But the girls were, of course. They were 3 small shapes behind the leather sofa. Waiting like they always waited, she crouched down and set the paper boat on the carpet. Didn't say anything, didn't hum the melody. Just placed it there and stepped back. Sophie reached for it first, her small fingers careful as she picked it up. She examined it from all angles, then showed it to her sisters. Arya touched the sail. Zoe found the ribbon tucked inside and pulled it out, the blue silk catching the low light. And then something happened that made Megan's heart stop. Zoe smiled. It was tiny, barely a curve of her lips, there and gone in a heartbeat. But it was real, it was human. It was the first time Megan had seen any of them show anything except fear or careful neutrality. "Pretty," Zoe whispered. The word was so quiet Megan almost missed it, but it was there, a real word. A real voice, breaking through whatever wall had been built around these girls. Megan's eyes burned. "Yeah, sweetie, it's pretty. Time's up." Brittany stood at the top of the stairs. And this time there was no professional mask, no concerned manager act. Her face was cold fury, barely contained. Her jaw tight, her eyes like chips of ice downstairs. Now Megan stood slowly, behind her. She heard the whisper of paper and ribbon as the girls hid the boat somewhere Brittany couldn't see. "Good, let them keep it. Let them have something that was theirs, Ms. Hey, Lay," I said now. Brittany's voice could have cut glass. "And Megan, don't bother coming in tomorrow. You're suspended pending review. 2 weeks, no pay. Maybe that'll give you time to think about appropriate boundaries." The words hit like a physical blow. 2 weeks without pay meant 2 weeks without rent money, without groceries, without the small buffer she'd been trying to build in her savings account. But she just nodded and walked past Brittany toward the stairs. Behind her, she heard the manager's voice. "Sweet and poisonous girls, let's see what you're hiding back there. Come on now. Give it to Miss Brittany." Megan's hands clenched into fists, but she kept walking, one step, another, down the spiral staircase. Through the restaurant, past Jason's worried look and the other servers' carefully averted eyes. In the break room, she grabbed her jacket and her bag. Her locker felt emptier than it should have. The matchbox was still in her apron pocket. She held it for a moment, feeling the worn cardboard, the faded phone number. Her brother had run when things got too hard. She'd always judged him for that. But maybe he'd just been smarter than she was. Megan shoved the matchbox back in her pocket and walked out into the cold night. 2 weeks of silence stretching ahead of her like a prison sentence. The suspension lasted exactly 4 days before Brittany called her back. "We're short-staffed," she'd said over the phone, her voice professionally neutral. "If you're willing to return under the existing terms, we can discuss reinstatement." Existing terms meant stay away from the mezzanine, keep your head down, don't cause trouble. Megan had said yes because her landlord didn't accept good intentions as rent payment. and her savings account was bleeding faster than she'd anticipated, so she went back. The restaurant felt different now, the air heavier somehow. Other servers gave her sympathetic looks, but kept their distance. Nobody wanted to be associated with someone on Brittany's radar. Jason slipped her an extra bread roll during her break and squeezed her shoulder, but didn't say anything that might be overheard. Megan worked her sections like a ghost, efficient and invisible. She didn't look at the spiral staircase, didn't listen for small voices or stifled sobs. She was a model employee, exactly what Brittany wanted her to be. It was killing her. On her sixth day back, Nathaniel Carrington summoned her to his office. The office was on the second floor, accessed through a different staircase than the mezzanine one that went through the kitchen and up past the wine cellar. Megan had never been up there before. Servers didn't get called to the owner's office unless something was seriously wrong. Her heart hammered as she climbed the stairs. Maybe Brittany had manufactured another complaint. Maybe this was it, the real firing, the one that would stick. The door was already open. Nathaniel sat behind a massive mahogany desk. His suit jacket hung on a coat rack, his shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked tired, the kind of tired that came from the inside out. From carrying weight for too long without setting it down, Miss Carter. Please sit. He gestured to the chair across from him. Megan sat, her hands folded in her lap to keep them from shaking. The office was immaculate. Leather-bound books on built-in shelves, framed photos of architectural landmarks. Everything in its place except for the desk, which was covered in paperwork and what looked like children's drawings held down by a coffee mug. Do you know why you're here? Nathaniel's voice was measured, controlled. The voice of someone who'd had to deliver bad news many times before. No. Sir, he opened a desk drawer and pulled out a small velvet jewelry bag. From it, he extracted a child's bracelet, delicate silver chain with a charm hanging from it. A tiny bird with spread wings. Megan's stomach dropped. This was found in your locker this morning during a routine inspection. He set it on the desk between them. It belongs to one of my daughters. Would you care to explain how it got there? The room tilted slightly. I've never seen that before, Ms. Haley seems to think otherwise. She says you've been consistently inappropriate with my children, despite multiple warnings. His tone was neutral, but his eyes were cold. She's documented several incidents of you approaching them without authorization, interfering with their care routines. Mr. Carrington, I would never. Megan's voice cracked. She cleared her throat. Tried again. I didn't take that bracelet. Someone put it there. Someone. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. You're suggesting Ms. Whole planted evidence in your locker when he said it like that. It sounded insane, paranoid, exactly how Brittany would want it to sound. I'm saying I didn't take it. Megan met his gaze, refusing to look away, even though everything in her wanted to. Your daughters were upset. I tried to help. That's all I did, my daughters, Nathaniel said quietly, have been through a tremendous amount of trauma. The last thing they need is he caught himself, moderated his tone. The last thing they need is well-meaning interference. From someone who doesn't understand their situation with respect, sir. I don't think isolating them is helping. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Nathaniel's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Megan thought she'd pushed too far, that he was going to fire her on the spot and have security escort her out. Instead, he stood and walked to the window, his hands shoved in his pockets. My wife died 14 months ago. Car accident. She was bringing the girls home from a birthday party. His voice was flat, reciting facts like they were someone else's story. The girls were in the car. They saw everything. They stopped speaking that day and haven't said a word since. Megan's chest constricted. I'm so sorry. Miss Holey has extensive experience with childhood trauma. She's implementing a carefully structured protocol designed to give them stability, routine, safety. What they don't need is someone disrupting that structure with games and toys. And he turned to face her. Whatever you think you're doing. I think I'm treating them like children instead of patients. The words hung in the air between them. Nathaniel's expression was unreadable. A mask that revealed nothing when he finally spoke. His voice was very quiet. Stay away from my daughters, Miss Carter. This is your final warning the next time. It won't be a conversation. Megan stood on shaking legs. Can I ask you something? He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. When's the last time you saw them smile? Something flickered across his face. Pain. Maybe, or recognition, but it was gone before she could be sure. You're dismissed, he said, turning back to the window. Megan left the office with the bracelet still sitting on his desk. A small silver accusation that branded her as a thief or a liar, or both. She made it down the stairs and through the kitchen before the tears came. Hot and furious and helpless in the break room, she splashed cold water on her face and stared at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked small, defeated, like every version of herself she'd ever tried not to become. She should quit, should walk out right now and find another job, another restaurant, another life where she didn't have to watch 3 little girls disappear into silence while the people who were supposed to protect them did nothing. But when she closed her eyes, she heard Zoe's whispered pretty and saw Sophie clutching that green bottle cap. And she thought about something her brother had told her once, years ago, before he left. The problem with you, Meg, is you can't walk away from broken things. You always think you can fix them. He'd been right then. He was probably right now. She pulled out her phone and did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She pulled up her contacts, scrolled to the number she'd entered but never dialed, and stared at it. Marcus Carter, home. Her thumb hovered over the call button. She could ask him how he did it, how he walked away and built a new life somewhere else, how he stopped caring about things that weren't his responsibility. But even as she thought it, she knew she wouldn't call, because they'd been built different. Her and Marcus, he knew how to leave. She only knew how to stay. Megan put the phone away and went back to work. That night, alone in the town car, Nathaniel Carrington stared at the bracelet he'd slipped into his pocket before leaving the office. It was too small for any of his daughters to wear anymore. They'd outgrown it months ago. He'd kept it in his desk drawer as a reminder of simpler times, before the accident, before the silence, in the back seat. Aria pressed her face against the window and drew something in the condensation with her finger. A bird with spread wings. Nathaniel watched his daughter's reflection in the glass and felt something crack in his chest. When was the last time he'd seen them smile? He couldn't remember. Couldn't remember the last time he'd tried to make them smile, sir. His driver caught his eye in the rearview mirror. Is everything all right? Nathaniel closed his hand around the bracelet, the metal warming against his palm. I'm not sure, he said quietly. I'm not sure it is. The restaurant closed at 11 on weeknights, but the cleaning crew didn't arrive until midnight. That left a golden hour when the building was mostly empty. Just a couple of managers doing paperwork, and maybe a line cook finishing prep for tomorrow. Megan had volunteered to stay late and help with inventory, not because she wanted overtime, but because she needed access to places she couldn't reach during regular hours. The storage room was in the basement, accessible through a narrow hallway past the walk-in freezer. It smelled like cardboard and dust, stacked high with boxes of linens and extra chairs and all the random detritus that accumulated in a restaurant over the years. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, throwing harsh shadows into the corners. She told herself she was looking for extra napkins. That's what she'd say if anyone asked. But really, she was looking for answers. The first box she opened held nothing but old menus from 3 years ago, back when Carrington's had a different chef and a different menu entirely. The second was full of wine-stained tablecloths waiting to be sent out for professional cleaning. The third, Megan pulled out a stack of order pads bound together with a rubber band. Her missing order pad was right on top, her handwriting clearly visible on the first page. She stared at it, feeling something cold settle in her stomach. So Brittany had taken it. Had probably taken it the same night she'd started the campaign of small sabotages. She set the order pads aside and kept digging. Behind a box labeled Christmas decorations, she found a banker's box that didn't match the others. Newer, cleaner, with a piece of tape across the lid that read Private BH in neat block letters. Megan glanced at the doorway. The hallway was empty, quiet, except for the hum of the freezer compressor. She shouldn't. This was definitely crossing a line. The kind that could get her arrested, not just fired. She opened it anyway. Inside were file folders, neatly organized and labeled. The first one was titled Staff Incidents and contained documentation on 3 different employees who'd been fired over the past 2 years. All for similar reasons: theft, inappropriate behavior, failure to follow protocols. All written in Brittany's precise handwriting. The second folder was thicker. Carrington Protocol, Therapeutic Silence Program. Megan pulled it out with shaking hands and started reading. It was all there. Contracts with a company called Mindful Development Solutions for consultation services. Invoices for weekly sessions at $300 an hour. Treatment plans written in dense psychological jargon about protective silence and trauma-responsive isolation techniques. Except the signatures on the contracts didn't look quite right. The letterhead was generic. And when Megan pulled out her phone and searched for Mindful Development Solutions, she got exactly 0 results. The company didn't exist. She photographed several pages, her hands trembling so badly she had to retake some shots. There were emails printed out, communications between Brittany and Nathaniel about extending the treatment protocol, about additional support services required. Each email ended with a dollar amount that made Megan's stomach turn. $1,500 a week, $78,000 over the past year. For therapy that wasn't happening, for a program that didn't exist. At the bottom of the box, wrapped in tissue paper, she found a child's notebook, the kind with wide ruled lines and a colorful cover. This one had unicorns on it. Though they were faded and water damaged, Megan opened it carefully. The first page had a drawing in crayon, 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. Above them, written in a child's uncertain hand, me and Zoe and Aria. The next pages were filled with more drawings: a house with a blue roof, a tree with 3 birds' nests, a woman with long dark hair holding hands with 3 small figures, their mother. Megan realized the drawings were happy, bright, full of color. Then the pages changed. Halfway through the notebook, the drawings became darker. Lots of black crayon, heavy strokes, a car on its side. Rain falling, 3 small figures inside the car, their faces just circles with sad mouths. And then, on the next page, a figure standing apart from the others. Tall, angular, drawn in gray, a triangle shape with 2 circles for eyes. Underneath, in shaky letters, Miss Brittany says she. More pages of the same. The gray triangle figure appearing in each drawing, always standing between the children and everything else. Between them and their father. Between them and the house. Between them and other people, on one page. The children were behind bars, literal jail bars drawn in black marker. The triangle figure stood outside. Smiling, the last drawing made Megan's throat close up. 3 small figures with X's over their mouths. Above them, in red crayon, one word written over and over. Quiet, 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 quiet. She photographed every page, her vision blurring with tears. At the very bottom of the box was an envelope. Expensive paper with Nathaniel's name embossed on it. Inside was a letter written in elegant cursive. My dearest Nathaniel, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I need you to know that the girls are stronger than they seem. They feel deeply, love fiercely, and need connection more than they need protection. Please don't let your fear make them smaller. Don't let anyone convince you that silence is safety. They need music. They need stories told at the dinner table. They need to know it's okay to be sad, to be angry, to be loud. The silence is a cocoon, not a home. Don't let them stay there forever. All my love. Carolyn. The date at the top was 2 weeks before the accident. Megan's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the letter. This was it. Proof that Brittany had intercepted this, had hidden it, had built an entire false treatment program on the foundation of a widower's grief and guilt. She photographed the letter and carefully put everything back in the box exactly as she'd found it. Her heart was racing, adrenaline singing through her veins. She needed to show this to someone, to Nathaniel, to a lawyer, to find what you were looking for. Megan spun around. Brittany stood in the doorway, arms crossed, expression carved from ice. Behind her, Megan could see the security guard Tom, a quiet guy who usually worked the late shift. Megan's mind raced. Looking for extra napkins. In a box labeled Private, Brittany's smile was razor thin. That's interesting, Tom. I believe we have a situation here. This employee was accessing confidential materials without authorization. Tom looked uncomfortable. Miss Haley, maybe we should call the police. Yes, I think that's appropriate. Brittany pulled out her phone, breaking and entering. Theft of proprietary documents, that's serious business. Megan's heart hammered. Her phone was in her back pocket, the photos safely stored. If Brittany realized she'd photographed the documents, I'll leave, Megan said quickly. Right now? No trouble. Oh, I think it's a bit late for that. Brittany's finger hovered over her phone screen, unless you'd like to hand over your phone first, just to make sure you haven't taken anything. Digital. The air in the storage room felt thick, suffocating. Tom shifted his weight. Clearly torn between following orders and his own conscience. Ms. Haley, he said slowly. If she's leaving voluntarily, maybe we don't need to. Your job is security, Tom. Not mediation. Brittany's voice was steel wrapped in silk. The phone. Megan. Now, Megan's hand closed around her phone in her pocket. Everything was on there. Every piece of evidence. Every photograph of those heartbreaking drawings. And that damning letter. She couldn't give it up. Couldn't let Brittany delete the only proof that existed. She said quietly, Brittany's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Then I'm calling the police, Tom. Please make sure she doesn't leave until they arrive." Megan looked at the security guard, saw the apology in his face as he moved to block the doorway. She was trapped, and in about 10 minutes, she'd be arrested. Her phone would be confiscated as evidence, and every photograph would disappear, unless she could figure out a way to send them first. The town car idled at a red light, rain beginning to spatter against the windshield. Nathaniel stared at his phone screen without really seeing it. Another email from the board. Another problem that needed solving. Another decision that felt meaningless in the grand scheme of things. In the back seat, his daughters sat in their usual silence. 3 identical car seats. 3 identical navy coats. 3 pairs of small hands folded in 3 identical laps. He should talk to them, should ask about their day. Tell them a story, sing a song, something, anything to break through the wall that had grown between them. But every time he opened his mouth, the words dried up. What was he supposed to say to children who didn't speak back? Who looked at him with those enormous eyes that held too much pain for 6-year-olds to carry? Carolyn would have known what to do. She'd always known. The light changed. The driver pulled forward. Nathaniel went back to his email when they arrived home. The girls filed out of the car in orderly silence. Their routine so practiced it felt choreographed. Up the front steps, through the door. Shoes off in the mudroom, coats hung on their designated hooks. Then, straight to their bedroom, where dinner would be brought to them on trays, because Brittany said eating in the dining room was too stimulating right now. Nathaniel watched them go, feeling the familiar weight of failure settle on his shoulders. "Will there be anything else, sir?" Mrs. Chun, the housekeeper, waited by the door. "No, thank you." He loosened his tie. "I'll be in my study." The study was his refuge, dark wood paneling, leather furniture. Shelves lined with law books and business journals. A room that smelled like old paper and expensive scotch. A room where he could pretend he had everything under control. He poured 2 fingers of whiskey and sat behind his desk. But the emails on his laptop screen blurred together. All he could see was Megan Carter's face when he'd accused her of theft. The way her voice had cracked when she'd said, "I would never," and that question, that damn question, "When's the last time you saw them smile?" He couldn't remember. God help him. He genuinely couldn't remember the last time any of his daughters had smiled. Nathaniel set down his glass and walked to the far wall, where a built-in cabinet held things he'd been meaning to sort through for months. He pulled open the bottom drawer and lifted out a wooden box, cherry wood with brass hinges. A gift from Carolyn on their 5th anniversary. He hadn't opened it since the funeral. Inside were the pieces of a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. Concert tickets from their first date. A napkin from the restaurant where he'd proposed, her lipstick kiss still visible on the paper. Photos from their wedding, from vacations, from lazy Sunday mornings when the girls were babies and the future stretched out bright and endless underneath the photos. He found an envelope with his name written on it in Carolyn's handwriting. His hand trembled as he picked it up. He'd thought he'd gone through everything, had sorted through her belongings, her files, her correspondence. How had he missed this? The envelope wasn't sealed. Inside was a single sheet of paper, the same elegant cursive he'd seen on birthday cards, and grocery lists and love notes left on his pillow. "My dearest Nathaniel, if you're reading this, something has happened to me." He read the letter 3 times, each pass making his chest tighter. The silence is a cocoon, not a home. Don't let them stay there forever. Carolyn had written this, had known, somehow, that if something happened to her, he'd be lost, that he'd make mistakes out of love and fear and the desperate need to protect what was left of his family. She'd tried to warn him, and someone had made sure he never got the warning. Nathaniel pulled out his phone and scrolled to Brittany's contact. His thumb hovered over the call button. It was past 11, late to be calling an employee, but questions were piling up in his mind, each one sharper than the last. The invoices from Mindful Development Solutions. Had he actually seen any credentials, any licenses? Or had he just been so desperate for someone to tell him how to fix his broken family that he'd signed whatever was put in front of him? When was the last time he'd actually sat in on one of the girls' therapy sessions? Had there even been any therapy sessions? He thought about Aria's drawing on the car window. That bird with spread wings. The same bird that had been on the bracelet he'd accused Megan Carter of stealing. The bracelet that had mysteriously appeared in her locker right after Brittany had reported her for inappropriate contact with the children. The bracelet he'd kept in his desk drawer that only Brittany had access to. Nathaniel set down his phone and pulled up his email instead, typing Mindful Development Solutions into the search bar. Dozens of invoices, treatment plans, progress reports, all professional looking. all signed by someone named Dr. Rebecca Morris, licensed child psychologist. He opened a new browser tab and searched for Dr. Rebecca Morris in their state. Found 3 psychologists with that name, none of them licensed for child therapy. Expanded the search to neighboring states. Nothing. Searched for mindful development solutions. The company didn't exist. His hands went cold. $78,000 over the past year. Maybe more. He'd have to check the full accounting. Money that had supposedly gone to helping his daughters heal from trauma. Money that had gone where a sound from upstairs made him look up. Footsteps, small ones, bare feet on hardwood, then Mrs. Chun's voice. It's gentle but concerned. "Miss Sophie, you should be in bed." Nathaniel left the study and climbed the stairs 2 at a time. He found Sophie standing in the hallway, clutching something in her hand. Mrs. Chun stood nearby, clearly unsure what to do. "It's all right," Nathaniel said quietly. "I'll take it from here." The housekeeper nodded and retreated. Sophie watched her go, then looked at her father with those 2 serious eyes. In the dim hallway light, she looked impossibly small in her white nightgown. Her dark curls tangled from tossing and turning. Her sweetheart. Nathaniel knelt down to her level, the way he used to when she was smaller, when she still talked to him. "Can't sleep," Sophie didn't answer. Of course she didn't, but she held out her hand. In her palm was a green bottle cap. Nathaniel stared at it. "Where did you get this?" His daughter's expression didn't change, but her fingers closed protectively around the bottle cap. Then she turned and walked back toward the bedroom she shared with her sisters. Nathaniel followed. The girls' room was done in soft pastels, Caroline's choice. From before, 3 beds with matching quilts, 3 dressers with matching lamps. Everything coordinated and perfect and utterly lifeless, except for a corner behind Aria's bed, where someone had created a small collection. Bottle caps arranged in a circle: red, blue, green, yellow, orange. A paper boat with a blue ribbon sail. A napkin with a bird drawn on it in pen, the lines rough but recognizable. Sophie knelt beside the collection and carefully placed the green bottle cap back in its spot. Then, all 3 girls, because Zoe and Aria were awake too, sitting up in their beds, looked at him, waiting. "These are from the restaurant," Nathaniel said slowly. "From the server, Miss Carter." 3 nods. "Small but definite. Brittany told me to make her stop. Said she was disrupting your treatment." He studied their faces, looking for what? Fear. Relief. "Was she right? Was Miss Carter bothering you?" 3 vigorous head shakes. "No, did you? Like when she visited you?" 3 nods. Enthusiastic ones. Nathaniel's throat tightened. He thought about the letter from Carolyn, about the fake therapy company, about a young woman who'd risked her job just to bring his daughter's bottle caps and paper boats, about what kind of person would do that, and what kind of person would try to stop her. "I need to ask you something important," he said quietly, "and I need you to tell me the truth. Can you do that?" The girls looked at each other. Some silent communication passing between them. Then Sophie reached behind Aria's bed and pulled out a notebook, unicorns on the cover. Pages dog-eared and water-stained. She handed it to her father and pointed to a drawing. 3 small figures behind bars, a triangle with eyes standing guard. "Who is this?" Nathaniel asked, though he already knew, already felt the sick certainty in his gut. Sophie's finger moved to the corner of the page where words were written in a child's shaky handwriting. "Miss Brittany says she." The world tilted. Righted itself. Left Nathaniel kneeling on his daughter's bedroom floor with a notebook full of truth he'd been too blind to see. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I should have listened better, looked harder, been here more." And then Sophie did something she hadn't done in 14 months. She walked over to him, wrapped her small arms around his neck, and pressed her face against his shoulder. It wasn't much, she didn't speak, but it was connection, real and human, and breaking through all the careful protocols that had kept them separated. Nathaniel held his daughter and felt something crack open in his chest, grief and rage and determination, all mixed together. Tomorrow he'd deal with Brittany. Tonight he'd hold what was left of his family and start figuring out how to put it back together. Megan's fingers flew across her phone screen, trying to email the photos to herself before Brittany could stop her. But the basement had terrible reception. The progress bar crawled forward with agonizing slowness. 20%, 30%, I'm not going to ask again. Brittany's voice was cold steel. "Hand over the phone." Tom shifted uncomfortably in the doorway. "Miss Haley, maybe we should just let her. Your job is to follow instructions, not question them." Brittany's eyes never left Megan's face. "The phone, now. 40%. Come on, come on. Megan backed toward the far corner of the storage room, putting boxes between herself and Brittany. I know what you've been doing. The fake therapy company. The money you've been stealing from him, it's all documented, is it? Brittany's smile was thin and sharp. Or is it the delusional accusation of a desperate woman who's about to be arrested for theft? Who do you think people will believe? Megan, me, with 15 years of management experience, or you, the server, with a history of boundary violations? 50% the email was taking forever. Megan's heart hammered against her ribs. Tom knows I'm telling the truth, Megan said. He can see the documents right here. Tom sees an employee accessing confidential materials without authorization. Brittany's voice was perfectly reasonable, perfectly calm. That's what his report will say. Isn't that right, Tom? The security guard's face was conflicted, but he nodded slowly. I'm sorry, Megan. I got bills to pay. 60%. Megan needed more time. Those girls are being hurt. You're keeping them isolated, silent, traumatized all, so you can keep billing their father for services that don't exist. Those girls are receiving exactly the care they need. Brittany took a step forward. And you're a disruption to their treatment, a dangerous one, 70%, almost there. Why? Megan asked, genuinely wanting to know. Why them? Why do this for the first time? Something flickered across Brittany's perfect mask. Because people like Nathaniel Carrington throw money at problems instead of actually fixing them. Because he'd rather pay someone to make his grief manageable than actually parent his children. I'm just giving him what he wants. A neat solution in a pretty package. You're stealing from him. I'm earning what I'm worth. Brittany's voice was sharp now, the professional veneer cracking. Do you know how long I've worked in this industry? How many entitled, wealthy families I've watched waste money on things that don't matter? I deserve this. I built this program. I maintain the illusion. I keep everything running smoothly. 80%, and when the girls get better. Megan asked when they start talking again, and Nathaniel realizes he doesn't need your program anymore. Brittany's smile returned. Colder than before? They won't get better. That's the beauty of it, as long as they stay silent. I'm indispensable, and they'll stay silent as long as I'm in control. 90% you're a monster, Megan whispered. I'm a businesswoman. Brittany lunged forward, reaching for the phone. Megan jerked back. But Brittany was faster than she looked. Her fingers closed around Megan's wrist. Nails digging in hard enough to hurt, they struggled, Megan trying to pull away while keeping her phone out of reach. And then Tom was there, grabbing Megan's other arm. Sorry, he muttered. I really am. The phone slipped from Megan's grip. Clattering to the concrete floor, the screen showed 95%. So close, so damn close. Brittany bent down and picked it up, her smile triumphant. Let's see what we have here. She tapped the screen, her expression shifting as she saw the open email draft. Clever, but not clever enough. She hit cancel. The unsent email disappeared. Then she opened Megan's photo gallery and started deleting. Each image gone with a tap. The invoices, the drawings, the letter from Carolyn, one by one, erased. No, Megan struggled against Tom's grip, but he held firm. There, Brittany deleted the last photo and held up the phone. All gone, no evidence, no proof, just the word of a troubled employee against mine. She handed the phone back to Megan with a smile. You can keep it now. It's worthless. Megan's stomach dropped. She'd been so close, had the proof right there, and now it was gone. Tom, please escort Ms. Carter out of the building, Brittany said. And make a note in your report that she was found accessing private documents without authorization. I'll be calling the police to file a formal complaint in the morning. Tom nodded and steered Megan toward the door. She went numbly, shock settling over her like a blanket. It was over. Brittany had won. They were halfway down the hallway when they heard it, a crash, loud and sudden, coming from upstairs. Then another sound, high-pitched, frightened, a child's cry. Tom froze. What the hell? They ran for the stairs, taking them two at a time. The restaurant was dark except for emergency lighting. Throwing long shadows across the dining room, the sound was coming from the mezzanine. When they reached the top, Megan's heart stopped. The three girls were there, all three of them, still in their nightgowns, barefoot on the cold floor, and Brittany was trying to herd them toward the private restroom. Her face tight with fury. What are you doing here? Brittany's voice was sharp. You're supposed to be at home. Let them go. Nathaniel Carrington's voice cut through the space like a blade. He stood at the top of the other staircase, the one from his office, still in his work clothes. In his hand was the unicorn notebook. Brittany's expression shifted, professional mask slamming back into place. Mr. Carrington, the girls wandered away from their car. I was just trying to Trying to, lock them in a bathroom so they can't tell me what you've been doing. Nathaniel descended the stairs slowly, his fury barely contained. I found your therapy program, Brittany, or rather, I found the shell company you created to funnel money out of my accounts. $78,000 for services that never existed. Brittany's face went pale. I don't know what my wife's letter. Nathaniel continued, his voice deadly quiet. The one you intercepted, the one you hid, she specifically warned against isolation, against silence, against everything you convinced me to do. Those girls they needed connection. They needed their father. They needed someone to actually help them heal, not profit from their pain. He looked at the girls, his expression softening. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. Brittany's eyes darted around, calculating. Megan recognized that look, the look of someone realizing their game was over, trying to find one last move, and then she made it, in a motion so fast it caught everyone off guard. Brittany grabbed Zoe's arm and pulled the little girl toward the private bathroom. Tom, help me secure. But Tom didn't move. He just stood there, looking sick. Megan didn't think, she just reacted. She launched herself forward, putting her body between Brittany and the girls. Let her go. They struggled. Brittany was stronger than she looked, desperation making her dangerous. Megan felt nails rake across her cheek, felt herself being pushed backward, and then they were falling, all of them. Megan and Brittany, and all three girls tumbling through the open bathroom door. They hit the tile floor hard. The impact knocking the breath from Megan's lungs. The door slammed shut, a lock clicked from outside. They heard Brittany's voice, muffled but clear. Stay in there until you learn to keep your mouth shut. Megan pushed herself up, tasting blood from where she'd bitten her lip. The bathroom was small, windowless, lit by a single flickering fluorescent light. The air already smelled like cleaning chemicals and rising panic. The three girls huddled together against the far wall, eyes wide with terror, and Megan realized with horrible clarity, Brittany had just locked them all in, turned a loss into leverage. As long as she had the children trapped, she had power. Outside, she could hear raised voices, Nathaniel demanding the door be opened. Brittany's calm insistence that the girls needed to be secured for their safety. Megan crawled over to the girls and gathered them close. They were shaking, silent tears streaming down their faces. 14 months of enforced quiet, and even now, even terrified, they didn't make a sound. And something in Megan just broke. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a battered keychain with a tiny music box attached. A cheap thing from a dollar store, barely functional, but when she wound it up, it played a simple melody, the same one she'd been whistling, the same one Carolyn had sung. Listen, Megan whispered to the girls. Your mom left you a message. She said, if you ever felt scared or alone, someone would sing for you. She cleared her throat, which was tight with tears and fear and love she hadn't known she was capable of. So I'm going to sing, okay? And in that locked bathroom, trapped and afraid, Megan Carter began to sing. The melody was simple, almost childlike, the kind of song that got passed down through generations, changing slightly with each telling, but keeping its essential sweetness. Megan's voice cracked on the first few notes, rusty from disuse and thick with emotion, but she kept going. Hush, little bird, don't you cry. Mama's gonna sing you a lullaby. The girls stared at her, frozen. Zoe's fingers clutched at Arya's nightgown. Sophie pressed herself against the tile wall like she could disappear into it. Megan kept singing, her hand reaching out slowly, palm up, non-threatening, an invitation, not a demand. And if that lullaby won't do, Mama's gonna whistle just for you. She whistled the next part. It's that same tune she'd used with the napkin birds and bottle caps. The sound echoed strangely in the small bathroom. Bouncing off tile and porcelain, Arya's eyes widened, her lips parted slightly, like she was tasting the air, testing whether the sound was safe outside. Voices rose and fell. Nathaniel was shouting now. His careful control finally shattered. Open this door right now, Brittany, or I swear to God the children need to calm down first. Brittany's voice was still maddeningly composed. They're having an episode. Opening the door now would only traumatize them further. That's bullshit, and you know it. Tom's voice cut in. Ms. Holey, I really think we should. Your opinion wasn't requested. Megan blocked out the noise and focused on the girls. She sang the verse again, softer this time. and placed her hand over her own throat so they could see the vibration, the way sound lived in your body before it lived in the air. Zoe crept forward an inch, just one, but it was movement toward instead of away, and that was everything. Megan sang another verse, making up words now because she couldn't remember all of them. It didn't matter. What mattered was the melody, the connection, the permission to make noise in a world that had demanded their silence. If that whistle makes you smile, stay with me a little while. Zoe's hand reached out. Small and pale in the fluorescent light, her fingers touched Megan's throat. Feeling the vibration of sound, her eyes went wide with wonder, and then, so quietly it was almost nothing, Zoe whispered. Bird. The single word landed like a bomb in the small space. Arya and Sophie both turned to stare at their sister, shock written across their identical faces. Yes, Megan breathed, hardly daring to speak louder. Yes, sweetie, bird, Zoe said again, louder this time. Her voice was hoarse, unused, but it was real, it was sound. It was breaking 14 months of silence with one simple word. Arya's lips moved. Nothing came out at first, just air and intention. Then, pretty Sophie, always the observer, always the one who watched and waited, pressed her small hand against the bathroom door. Brittany, she whispered, not to call the woman, but to name her, to identify the source of their fear. She can't hurt you anymore, Megan said, gathering all three girls close. Your dad knows the truth now. He's right outside. He's trying to get to you, Daddy. Arya's voice was tentative, questioning. Yes, your daddy. Megan's throat was tight with tears. He loves you so much. He got lost for a while, but he's here now. Outside, the argument had escalated. Nathaniel's voice was raw with desperation. My daughters are in there. You have no right to. I have every right. I'm protecting them from. You're protecting yourself, Nathaniel roared. Tom, break down that door now, sir. I can't just. That's an order. Either you do it or I will. There was a moment of silence. Then Tom's voice, quiet but firm, stepped back. Mr. Carrington. The first impact shook the door in its frame. The girls flinched, pressing closer to Megan. She wrapped her arms around them, making herself a shield. It's okay, she murmured. That's your dad. He's coming for you. The second impact cracked the frame. The third splintered wood around the lock. On the fourth hit, the door burst open. Nathaniel stood in the doorway, his hair disheveled, his tie gone, his dress shirt torn at the shoulder. He looked like he'd been through a war. Behind him, Tom held a fire extinguisher he'd used as a battering ram. And for a moment, nobody moved. Father and daughters stared at each other across the small bathroom. 14 months of distance and silence and grief hanging between them like fog. Then, Sophie whispered, Daddy, and the spell broke. Nathaniel dropped to his knees and his daughters ran to him, all three at once. A tangle of small arms and nightgowns and tears, he gathered them close, his own tears finally falling after being held back for so long. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I should have listened, should have seen. I'm here now, I'm here. Daddy, Arya sobbed against his chest. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. Like she was testing the word, making sure it still fit, still worked. We were scared. Zoe whispered, I know you were. Nathaniel's voice cracked, but you're safe now. I promise you're safe. Sophie pulled back just enough to look at her father's face. Miss Megan sang Mama's song. Nathaniel looked up. Seeming to remember for the first time that Megan was there, she stood pressed against the far wall of the bathroom, giving them space, trying not to intrude on this moment of family reunion. Thank you, he said, and those two words carried the weight of everything he couldn't say. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for seeing what I was too blind to see. Thank you for giving me back my daughters. Megan nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Where's Brittany? Tom's voice came from the doorway. They all looked. The mezzanine was empty, while they'd been focused on breaking down the door, while Nathaniel had been reuniting with his daughters. Brittany had disappeared. She's probably trying to get to the office, Nathaniel said, standing with a daughter still clinging to each leg, the files. She wants to destroy the evidence. I'll stop her. Tom took off at a run. Wait, Nathaniel started to follow, but his daughters held on tighter. Don't go, Sophie whispered. Please don't go. He froze, torn. Then he looked at Megan. Can you? I'm on it. Megan was already moving. Adrenaline pushing through exhaustion, she ran for the stairs, taking them as fast as she dared, her worn sneakers slapping against marble. She could hear Tom ahead of her, his security boots heavy on the floor. They burst into the office corridor together just as Brittany emerged from Nathaniel's office, her arms full of file folders and her laptop clutched to her chest. "Stop right there." Tom blocked her path. Brittany's professional mask had finally shattered completely. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup smudged, her eyes wild. "Get out of my way." "Can't do that, ma'am." I said move. She tried to shove past him. But Tom was bigger, stronger. The files scattered across the floor, papers flying everywhere. Megan dropped to her knees and started gathering them. Invoices, treatment plans, emails, all the proof they'd need. "You can't do this," Brittany spat, still struggling against Tom's grip. "Do you know who I am? I'll sue. I'll have both your jobs." You'll shut up." Nathaniel's voice cut through her tirade. He stood at the end of the hallway. Sophie riding on his hip, Arya and Zoe holding each hand. Tom called the police. "Real ones this time." "Yes, sir." Tom pulled out his radio with one hand while keeping his other on Brittany's arm. Brittany's eyes darted around, looking for an escape that didn't exist. Then her gaze landed on Megan. And what came out was pure venom. "This is your fault. You couldn't just leave well enough alone. Those girls were fine before you. Those girls were prisoners," Megan interrupted, standing with her arms full of evidence. "And you were their jailer. I gave them structure, stability, everything they needed. Everything but their voices." Nathaniel's expression was granite. "That's what you took from them. And I'll make sure you pay for every single day they spent in silence." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Brittany sagged in Tom's grip, finally understanding that it was over. The game was done. She'd lost. The girls watched her with those enormous brown eyes. No longer afraid, just watching as the monster who'd controlled their lives for so long was finally led away. The police took statements until 3 a.m. 2 officers, notebooks out, recording everything: Nathaniel's discoveries about the fraudulent therapy program, Tom's account of finding Brittany trying to flee with evidence, Megan's testimony about being locked in the bathroom with the children. The girls sat curled together on the leather sofa in Nathaniel's office, wrapped in blankets that Mrs. Chun had brought from home. They watched everything with quiet intensity, occasionally whispering to each other in voices still rough from disuse. Brittany was gone, handcuffed and placed in the back of a patrol car, still insisting this was all a misunderstanding, that she'd done nothing wrong. Her lawyer was already on his way, though Nathaniel's lawyer had assured him that the evidence was overwhelming: fraud, embezzlement, false imprisonment. The charges were piling up. "We'll need access to your financial records," the older officer said to Nathaniel. "Bank statements, contracts, anything related to this Mindful Development Solutions. I'll have everything sent to you first thing tomorrow." Nathaniel glanced at his daughters. "Tonight. I just need to take my girls home. Of course, we'll be in touch." After the police left, the restaurant fell into an exhausted quiet. Tom offered to stay and secure the building. Mrs. Chun took the girls to wash their faces and brush their hair, murmuring soft reassurances in Mandarin, which left Nathaniel and Megan alone in his office, surrounded by scattered files and the wreckage of the night. "I owe you an apology," Nathaniel said finally. He stood by the window, his back to her, shoulders tight with tension. "Several, actually, for accusing you of theft, for not listening when you tried to tell me, for being so blind that I couldn't see what was happening to my own daughters." "You were grieving," Megan said quietly. She sat in one of the office chairs, exhaustion settling into her bones. Brittany knew that. "She used it against you. That's not an excuse." He turned to face her, and in the dim office lighting, he looked older than his years. "I should have been there for them. Should have questioned why they weren't getting better. Should have asked why every babysitter I hired suddenly quit or was fired." He laughed, bitter and sharp. "God, it's so obvious now. She isolated them completely, made sure no one could reach them except through her. She was good at what she did." Megan admitted, "She almost had me convinced I was the problem, that I was hurting them by trying to connect." Nathaniel walked to his desk and pulled out the bottom drawer. From it, he extracted a leather-bound ledger. "Do you know what the worst part is? I have a law degree. I've negotiated billion-dollar contracts. I should have seen the red flags. Should have done basic due diligence on this therapy program." He opened the ledger, flipping through pages of neat entries. "But I was so desperate for someone to tell me how to fix them that I just signed whatever Brittany put in front of me." He turned the ledger around so Megan could see. Page after page of payments to Mindful Development Solutions. $300 a session. Sometimes 4 sessions a week, consultation fees, administrative costs, equipment expenses. $78,000 over the past year, Nathaniel said. "But that's just what I found tonight. I think it goes back further, probably started small, a few hundred here and there that I wouldn't notice. Then grew. As she got more confident, Megan's head spun looking at the numbers. That was more money than she'd make in 3 years. 4, maybe. All of it stolen from a grieving father desperate to help his daughters. The police will recover what they can, Nathaniel continued, though I'm not holding my breath. People like Brittany are smart about these things. She probably moved the money through shell accounts, offshore holdings. He closed the ledger with a snap, but that's not what matters. The money's gone. I can absorb that loss. What I can't get back is the time. 14 months of my daughters' lives spent in silence because I trusted the wrong person. They're talking now, Megan offered. That's something. Because of you, Nathaniel met her eyes. Not because of any protocol or therapy, because a 25-year-old server with worn-out shoes cared more about my children's well-being than their own job security. Megan looked down at her hands. I saw them hurting. I couldn't walk away from that. Most people would have. He moved to the wall safe behind a painting of the harbor. Megan hadn't even known it was there. He spun the dial, entered the combination, and pulled open the heavy door. Inside were stacks of documents, jewelry boxes, and what looked like important legal papers. Nathaniel pulled out a manila envelope, thick with contents. "This is everything I found tonight," he said. Laying it on the desk, the fake invoices, the forged signatures on treatment plans, emails between Brittany and her shell company. She was essentially emailing herself, creating a paper trail of legitimacy. He pulled out the children's notebook with the unicorn cover, and this, their drawings. Evidence of what they were really experiencing. While Brittany convinced me they needed more isolation, more silence, he opened the notebook to a page near the end. 3 small figures behind bars, the triangle with eyes standing guard in the margin. Written in adult handwriting, Brittany's handwriting, was a note. Discussed with Dr. Morris, patients showing signs of emotional attachment to temporary staff. Recommend increased isolation protocols. She documented her own abuse. Megan whispered, because she thought she was untouchable. Nathaniel's jaw tightened, thought I was too wrapped up in grief to notice. Too willing to believe whatever she told me, he pulled out one more item from the envelope, the letter from Caroline. The elegant cursive that warned against isolation, against letting silence become a home instead of a cocoon. "My wife knew," he said softly, somehow. "She knew exactly what would happen if something happened to her. She tried to warn me." His voice cracked, and Brittany made sure I never got the warning. Megan stood and walked to the desk, looking at the letter. She loved them. "Your wife, you can tell from every word." She did, more than anything. Nathaniel carefully folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. And I failed to honor that love. Failed to be the father Carol entrusted me to be. "You're being that father now," Megan said. "That's what matters." He looked at her, really looked at her, seeing her perhaps for the first time as a person, rather than just staff. "What you did tonight, putting yourself between Brittany and my daughters. Getting locked in that bathroom, singing to them when they were terrified. That took courage, real courage. Anyone would have. No, they wouldn't have." His voice was firm. Most people would have walked away the first time Brittany threatened their job. You kept coming back, kept trying, even when it cost you." Megan thought about her suspension. The planted bracelet, the systematic destruction of her reputation. "Yeah, well, it did cost me. I want to make that right." Nathaniel pulled a checkbook from his desk drawer. "Let me compensate you for the lost wages, for everything you went through." "I don't want money," Megan interrupted. The words came out sharper than she intended. She softened her tone. "I didn't do this for money. I did it because those girls deserved better." Nathaniel set down the checkbook. "Then what do you want?" Megan thought about it. About worn-out shoes and second-hand coats and apartments that smelled like other people's cooking. About a matchbox in her pocket with a phone number she'd never called. "I want to know they'll be okay," she said finally. "That they'll get real help this time. That someone will be there to make sure they keep finding their voices." "They will." Nathaniel's voice was steady. "Certain, I'll be there. And I'm hiring a real therapist, vetted, licensed, with actual credentials. Someone who specializes in childhood trauma." "Good." Megan picked up her jacket from where she'd dropped it hours ago. "Then, that's all I need." "Wait," Nathaniel stood. "There's one more thing in the safe. Something that technically belongs to you." He reached back into the safe and pulled out the silver bracelet with the bird charm. The one he'd accused her of stealing. "This was never yours to take," he said, placing it in her palm. "But my daughters want you to have it. They told me in actual words, out loud, that you're the bird lady, that birds mean freedom and singing and not being afraid anymore." His voice roughened. "So, if you'll accept it, not as payment but as gratitude from all of us." Megan looked down at the delicate silver chain, the tiny bird catching the office light. She thought about bottle caps and paper boats and little girls learning to trust again. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay," outside the office window. The sky was beginning to lighten, that deep blue that came just before dawn. A new day coming, whether they were ready for it or not. 3 months later, the world looked different. Not dramatically. There were no miracles, no fairy tale transformations. But the small changes added up to something that felt like hope. The Carrington mansion's windows stood open, letting in afternoon sunlight and the sound of birds from the garden. The heavy drapes that had blocked out the world were gone, replaced by sheer curtains that moved in the breeze. Someone had opened all the doors between rooms, so the house felt less like a series of separate cells and more like a home where people could actually find each other. In the kitchen, Nathaniel stood at the counter making sandwiches, not fancy restaurant food, just peanut butter and jelly on wheat bread. The crusts cut off the way Zoe liked. His sleeves were rolled up, his tie discarded somewhere hours ago. He looked younger like this, more human, less like the carefully controlled businessman and more like a dad trying to figure things out. "You're putting too much jelly on that one," Arya informed him from her perch on the counter stool. She'd taken to narrating everything he did, making up for lost time with a running commentary on life. "Zoe doesn't like it drippy," noted. Nathaniel scraped off some jelly. Better. Can I have the one with extra peanut butter?" "That's the plan." He slid the sandwich onto a plate decorated with cartoon animals, cheap plastic from the dollar store. Nothing like the fine china that used to grace their table. But the girls loved them. That's what mattered. Sophie appeared in the doorway, her hair still damp from the bath. "Megan's here." Nathaniel's heart did a small skip, something that had been. It's happening more often lately when someone mentioned Megan's name. He told himself it was just gratitude, just appreciation for what she'd done for his family. He was lying and he knew it, but he wasn't quite ready to examine that truth too closely yet. "Tell her we're almost ready," he said. "The picnic basket's by the door." Sophie nodded and disappeared a moment later. He heard her voice in the entryway, high and excited. "We're having sandwiches in the garden. Daddy made them himself. And we have apple slices and those crackers you like." Megan's laugh drifted back to the kitchen, warm and genuine. "That sounds perfect, sweetie." Nathaniel finished the last sandwich and loaded everything into the basket. Real therapy had helped. Dr. Patricia Kim came twice a week and worked with the girls on processing their trauma, on finding safe ways to express emotion, on rebuilding trust. But the real healing, he'd come to realize, happened in moments like this: sandwiches in gardens and people who showed up. Megan showed up. She'd started coming by on Sundays after that first terrible night. Not as an employee. Nathaniel had offered her a position as the girl's nanny, but she'd refused. Said she needed to keep her independence, keep her own life separate. But she came anyway, every Sunday, bringing bottle caps or paper boats, or sometimes just herself. The girls lived for Sundays now. He carried the basket out to the garden where Mrs. Chun had already spread a blanket on the grass. The garden had changed too. The rigid, formal landscaping had been softened with wildflowers and a bird feeder that Arya checked obsessively. 3 small figures ran around the lawn, Zoe chasing Sophie while Arya hung back and provided commentary. And there was Megan sitting cross-legged on the blanket with the afternoon sun in her hair. She wore jeans and a simple blue shirt, the silver bracelet with the bird charm visible on her wrist. She looked up as he approached, and her smile did things to his chest that he definitely wasn't ready to think about. "You actually cooked," she teased. "I'm impressed. It's sandwiches, not a 5-course meal. Still counts." She helped him unpack the basket. "How was the meeting with the prosecutor?" Nathaniel grimaced. "Long, complicated. Brittany's lawyer is trying to negotiate a plea deal, but they've got her dead to rights on the fraud charges. The false imprisonment is harder to prove. It's her word against ours about what happened that night. There were witnesses, Tom saw. Tom saw Brittany trying to calm the children during a crisis. That's how her lawyer will spin it. He set out paper plates, but the financial crimes alone will put her away for a few years." "That's something. It's not enough," Megan said quietly. "No, but it's what we've got." He looked at his daughters, running and laughing and being 6 years old for the first time in over a year. "The important thing is they're safe now. They're healing." As if summoned by his words, all 3 girls came racing over. "Breathless and flushed. We're starving," Arya announced dramatically. "Dying of hunger," Zoe added. Sophie just climbed into Megan's lap and made herself comfortable, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Megan wrapped her arms around the little girl automatically, and Nathaniel felt something twist in his chest, not painful, just significant, like watching puzzle pieces slide into place. They ate sandwiches and apple slices and talked about nothing important. Arya showed Megan a new drawing she'd made. Still birds, always birds, but these ones were flying instead of caged. Zoe demonstrated a new song she'd learned in the music therapy sessions doctor. Kim had recommended. Sophie just sat quiet and content, occasionally stealing crackers from Megan's pile. This was healing, not the dramatic kind. Not the kind you could see and measure, just the slow, patient work of building trust and safety and knowing that the people who said they'd stay actually would. After lunch, Nathaniel pulled out a folder he'd been carrying. "I have something for you," he said to Megan. She looked wary. "If this is another job offer, it's not." He handed her the folder. "It's the deed to a property downtown, small place, 2 bedrooms, needs some work. But it's yours if you want it." Megan stared at the papers. "I can't accept this, you can. The building is one I have owned for years through an investment trust. It's been sitting empty because I kept meaning to renovate it and never got around to it." He met her eyes. "I'm not giving you charity, Megan. I'm giving you an option, a place that's yours, that no landlord can take away, where you can build something stable." "Nathaniel, the girls asked me to," he gestured to his daughters, who were suddenly very interested in their apple slices. "They said you're family now. And family doesn't let family live in, what did you call it, Arya? A sad apartment that smells like cabbage." Arya supplied helpfully. Megan laughed, watery and overwhelmed. "You guys have a big mouth. You know that. We learn from the best," Sophie said, grinning at her father. Nathaniel felt his face heat. "What I'm trying to say is, you gave us our voices back. Let us give you something too, not as payment. You've made it clear you don't want that, but as family, because that's what you are now." Megan looked down at the deed, then at the 3 girls watching her with hope written all over their faces. Then at Nathaniel. "Family," she repeated softly. "If you want to be." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she folded the deed carefully and slipped it into her pocket. "Okay, but I'm paying for the renovations myself. And you're all helping me paint. Deal?" Nathaniel offered his hand. She shook it, her grip firm and warm. Arya clapped. "Does this mean you'll come over more than just Sundays, maybe?" Megan pulled the little girl into a hug. "If your dad doesn't get sick of me." "Not possible," Nathaniel said quietly. He caught Megan's eye and saw understanding, their awareness of something shifting between them. Something neither of them was quite ready to name, but that existed anyway, patient and sure. Sophie tugged on Megan's sleeve. "Stay," she said, that same command she'd given 3 months ago. But this time it wasn't desperate. Just hopeful, the way kids were supposed to be. "I'm staying," Megan promised. She touched the bird charm on her bracelet. "I'm not going anywhere." The sun moved across the garden, casting long shadows. Someone started whistling, Zoe, maybe, or Arya, and the melody caught and spread until they were all humming it together. That same simple tune that had started everything, that had broken through walls and opened doors and reminded them all that silence was only temporary if someone was brave enough to sing. In her pocket, Megan felt the weight of the deed. A new home, a new chance. But also the familiar outline of that old matchbox with her brother's phone number inside. Maybe, she thought, one of these days she'd call it. Tell Marcus she'd figured out how to stay, how to build something permanent instead of always running. But not today. Today was for gardens and sandwiches and little girls who'd learned to speak again. Today was for family, the kind you chose, the kind that chose you back. Today was enough.